A big reason why I'm not picking the Bears to go from worst to first is because the Detroit Lions exist. And the Lions have made some good offseason moves.
I agree.
And they haven't been to the playoffs in a long time, man. I think they have the second longest playoff drought currently. The first is the Jets.
We're back.
They went 9-8 last season.
I thought Broncos were in there also. Thank God.
The Broncos are in there.
Yeah.
I think it's the Jets, Lions, Broncos. It goes like that. Lions went 9-8 last season. The winning record, 4th-ranked offense, 8th in passing yards, 11th in rushing. They started out 1-6, and then they finished 8-2 down the stretch, and they had that great Week 18 win against the Packers. A lot of signs lean to the Lions ending their playoff drought. You look at the free agent moves, David Montgomery. I think he's better than Jamal Williams. I understand the heart and soul that Jamal Williams was to the Lions, but Montgomery is somebody that can do more. He has more wiggle.
So Khalil
he
Herbert's
has more
better
worst.
than Jamal Williams?
Yep. He's a better back.
He's a juice guy.
No, I know. I just want to make sure we keep consistent.
I think Jamal Williams, when you talk about Jamal Williams.
Because I like Montgomery a lot. I'm just wondering if he feels that Khalil Herbert's also better than him.
When you talk about Jamal Williams, he's always been an average back. I think when you look at his touchdown numbers, you may be like, oh, he's better than you're giving him more credit than he deserves.
I agree with that point.
And I feel the same way when you talk about Eckler. You know what I'm saying? Like, the touchdown numbers may be there, but he's not an elite tier running back. Jamal Williams is good, but I think Montgomery's better. He has more burst. You can use him in those goal line situations just like you use Williams.
That point wholeheartedly.
If the Lions decided to use Swift instead of Williams on half of those, we're not having this touchdown argument.
Agreed.
Graham Glasgow, him signing back with the Lions now fills that guard spot that I thought Vitae was average there for a couple years. But the secondary is the biggest improvement. Getting Cameron Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, who has CB1 potential, but he gets injured. And, of course, C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Emmanuel Mosley, that's your guy that dropped the interception, Matthew Stafford, correct?
No, that was Jaquiski Tart.
Facts.
Can't forget Jaquiski.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson, a huge move. I mean, C.J. came out and said that the Lions have a better roster than the Eagles.
He capped.
Came out and said that.
I'm the Lions supporter here. He capped. Like hell. Go ahead.
But looking at the Lions, I think they're now building something. Their defense should be average at least.
Secondary, huge improvement.
And from week 8 onward, they were 22nd in dropback EPA and 26th in rush EPA. So even when they were winning, their defense was still not the best. But, with these improvements, their defense could be okay. Ben Johnson's coming back, so Jared Goff should have another good year. I think if I was the Lions, I'd want to go out and trade for Lamar Jackson and really solidify myself. With Jared Goff, it's too wishy-washy for me. Yeah. I'm not sure.
That trade package becomes difficult then because are they trading the number 5 overall pick? Does Jared Goff also get included with that? Does another first-round pick also get included with that?
Oh, yes.
Then you have to pay him $250 million, probably at the minimum, all guaranteed.
The report is he doesn't want a fully guaranteed contract. I think it's because he can't find one.
Yeah,
more than anything.
I'd trade Goff and 2 firsts for Lamar in a heartbeat.
The number 5 overall?
And pay him.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. It's Lamar.
Unless you only have to trade 2 firsts. They could trade their later first, maybe 2024, if that's possible.
I'll say this. I would 100% trade for Lamar Jackson. Yes, it's Lamar Jackson, MVP. I don't want to disrespect his name. However, I will say this. The Detroit Lions aren't the team that I feel like need Lamar Jackson the most. Because Jared Goff, where I agree with you, Joel, that on a point you made earlier in the show is Jared Goff is starting to get overappreciated. Where I believe, yes, he is a competent quarterback. He is one of the more underappreciated, mediocre to above average quarterbacks, no doubt about it. But that's the strongest I want to use the word to describe Jared Goff. He is an above average quarterback, at best, in my opinion. He did a great job last season. Absolutely, the numbers were there. He was fantastic in his role, no doubt. He is also behind one of the best offensive lines in the game. You have the Eagles, and then you have the Detroit Lions. I think that Jared Goff is good enough to win football games for the Detroit Lions so long as they clean up this defense, which they have tried to do this offseason. Now, with this number 5 overall selection, I've been going back and forth because if at number 5, Anthony Richardson is there, you select him. I don't believe that Anthony Richardson will be there at 5 because I believe someone will trade up at number 3, or at the worst, I think the Colts will select Anthony Richardson at number 4. So I think at number 5, they're not going to have that option to select the top 3 quarterbacks. And if the Lions select Will Levis, I will lose my mind because that is not the selection. Because really what that means is Javon Carter's falling right into their lap at 5. And you help solidify that defensive line. I understand that there's conversations about Carter's character because of what's been occurring in his life off the football field. However, at number 5, that's a talent I don't think the Lions can pass up on, truthfully. Especially when they need help defensively the way that they do. You add the best talent available. Adding Lamar Jackson changes the landscape and the projection of the Detroit Lions. But if I'm Detroit, I feel like I stay even keel. I have 2 first-round picks this season. I understand that my team already was good enough to be a game away from winning the playoffs. We eliminated the Green Bay Packers on their home field and were overachievers this past season because no one projected us to be as good as we were. I agree with your point saying that I like the David Montgomery contract. I feel like you could have given that money to Jamal Williams given what he means to the locker room. His intangibles are something that is going to be desperately missed. But I agree with the talent. Montgomery has the talent. He can do the job on the field of what Williams did. I feel like the Lions are in a position where they need to stay put. They need to trust this team. And as long as they continue to hit on the draft, which we're going to wait on Jameson Williams because he just had basically an entire season without J-Mo. And we understand how I feel about Jameson Williams. I understand we saw Garrett Wilson. I'm probably going to be wrong about Jameson Williams being the number 1 receiver, just how great Garrett Wilson is. But there's still a strong possibility, as great as Olave was this past season, that Jameson Williams can insert himself into that top 3 easily.
Sure.
I believe in that talent, no doubt about it. Amon-Ra St. Brown broke out this season. He was phenomenal. He is a top 10 receiver in my humble opinion. He is that good. This offense has a lot of really good players on this offense, and as long as they fix this defense in the draft, this team definitely can win the division.
Talk to me about your Lions, bro. It's been your squad. The best, worst team ever, right?
They are. And
They were.
I think that
He spit.
I think that they will make the playoffs if they can make the right moves. I wouldn't take Jalen Carter at 5. I would still probably draft Christian Gonzalez.
Even off all the secondary moves they made?
Emmanuel Mosley's injury prone.
Not that none of these guys are long-term solutions, right? They're mostly 1-2 year deals.
Cameron Sutton is the only one I look at, and I'm like, that's a guy that, he'll be there for
and
a
Jeff
while.
Okudah was solid last season. I say solid.
Injury concerns,
I don't say anything else.
Yeah, Jeff Okudah's good, but, Christian Gonzalez is a game changer.
I understand what you're saying, but they need help on the defensive line. Let's be real. And Aiden Hutchinson, he was fantastic last season. He had a late push for Defensive Rookie of the Year. No one was taking that away from Sauce. But Aiden was fantastic. And you add a little bit more substance to that line, it relieves some pressure off Aiden, and then it'll allow Carter to also have a successful rookie season.
Aiden wasn't even the best one on their defensive line, though.
There was another rookie they had, right?
James Houston, yeah.
James Houston was very good.
So
you continue to bolster this defensive line, get pressure onto the quarterback.
I don't know. With all the concerns that Jalen Carter has, I'd just probably be safe and take Christian Gonzalez.
My only thing is, regardless, because what you're saying is sound.
Because he could be a great
corner, There is going
to
be another team that gambles on Jalen Carter. Let's say he's not a top 5 pick. Let's say he's top 10. And hey, let's say he's not top 10, he's top 15. From 6 to 15, a team is getting a steal.
Probably.
A team is getting a steal because a team is going to draft him. He's not going undrafted.
Yeah, but his pro day was horrendous.
And he was still projected to be the number 1 or number 2 defender off the board. I'm not disagreeing with you. Will Anderson will be the number 1 defender off the board. But Jalen Carter is going to get drafted in the first 10 picks.
Micah, I think, was a better prospect, and he fell a little bit.
But Micah also had
similar
issues.
concerns, yeah.
Yeah,
not way lesser.
Yeah, facts.
That's why, you guys took...
Issue becomes that it was in the locker room,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But where Carter's was worse, probably, no doubt.
Definitely.
You have Micah, who it impacted the team.
It's also been settled, too. He gets a year probation, some fines.
The Broncos took Surtain over Micah.
I'm fine with that.
And yeah, I think you're fine. Same way I think Lions would be fine if they take Gonzalez over Carter.
I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's not a bad pick. I like
not.
Gonzalez a lot. I just feel like I would rather get pressure onto the quarterback, really, especially when I understand I have a potential star in Aiden Hutchinson. You mentioned it, Houston as well, who was great last season. You add Carter to the mix. Now we're talking about a unit that people are going to be talking about with the best of the best.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like the Lions a lot. I just feel like Jared Goff gives them a limited ceiling. And year to year, excitement always grows.
Goff did go to the Super Bowl.
Year to year, excitement always does grow for certain teams based on how they do. But I look at two I look at how teams will look in 2 years. Jared Goff has another good year with Ben Johnson. I have no doubt he will. Ben Johnson leaves.
Comes head coach.
And now who's going to be the OC? And now I think that in turn probably drops Goff's production. And there's just more question marks. So I don't know. That's why I'd rather go and get Lamar Jackson.
I get it.
But I understand how for every team it feels like getting Lamar is just an unrealistic thing that's going to happen. Like, it's just unrealistic.
I mean, if you're the Lions, it's not too unrealistic. You have a very solid quarterback that you can give in return. You have really, really good draft capital with the number 5. You have another first-round pick in this selection, in this draft too. I'm sure that they'd probably want next year's first instead because they don't want a mid-tier pick. The Lions are in prime position to acquire Lamar Jackson. The Lions, and I look at Atlanta as well, but the Lions more so because they have the quarterback to give in return if Baltimore does not want to be complete.
And Baltimore also bringing in Todd Monken. They don't have this run-heavy scheme anymore, right? Monken is much more pass-heavy, so maybe it's a better fit. Still need receivers on the team if they want to run a pass-heavy offense. Sure. Right? You look at Bateman as really the only guy you could pencil in. I'm comfortable with him being a starting wide receiver on this team. The rest of the guys, I know John's a big Devin Duvernay fan.
Duvernay, come on.
What did I say? Duvernay?
Duvernay.
Devin.
Lack of respect.
Devin
Duvernay.
Duvernay.
Nice.
Devin Duvernay fan. I should know that. I watched him so much. Just be terrible with Lamar Jackson. With that being said, the Lions, though, listen, they were basically a game away. I mean, they had the same record after they won the game against the Packers or whatever it was. Seattle ended up getting in over them, but this Lions team has been growing over these last couple of seasons, bringing in Dan Campbell, who people were definitely, teetering about whether he could be a legitimate head coach. He comes in very bravado, very masculine. The way he has his press conference, we're going to bite kneecaps off players. Not exactly the most typical head coach in opening interview you would ever see, but people want to play for him. It was Cam Sutton, I think, who said we look at Dan Campbell around the league and guys want to come and just play for him.
He's a football guy.
Exactly. So the energy he has around that building, around that team, you could feel it. You feel it year to year to year. And this season feels like this could be the one they break out. You have the Vikings coming back down to earth. You have Rodgers leaving the division. Chicago's going to get better, but you still feel pretty confident as a Lions fan that you could be there. Then you look at the wild card teams. You're just as good, if not better, than damn near all of them, or at the very minimum in that same tier with the Seattles of the world and the Saints of the world. So I think Lions fans, your time is right here. It's around the corner. You just got to, pray for health. And like Drew mentioned, you could have one of the more explosive offenses. Jameson Williams is able to stay on the field, partner with Amon-Ra, who is more of the intermediate possession type receiver, and you just have Jameson, who's could be one of the most explosive players in the entire league. Losing Jamal Williams definitely hurts, especially red zone time. But I'm with you all. Jamal Williams isn't this uber talented, out of this world great running back. He's number one of the best locker room guys you could have in the league, really solid around the goal line. But David Montgomery is going to give you 95% of what Jamal Williams does. He probably won't have 17 touchdowns like Jamal did last year, but him and Swift are going to be a fine combo.
And my goofy ass said 5, I meant 6. 5 is the Seahawks that the Broncos gave them that pick.
I look at the Lions, and I like their offense, but I don't know. Outside of Amon-Ra,
Jameson Williams.
He's the only one that's proven. I like Jameson's upside.
Yeah.
Very limited, but he showed flashes last year. Just
DeAndre Swift, you're out on
being a step
the
away.
Offensive line. I mean, I'll be honest.
I'm out on DeAndre Swift.
He's never liked DeAndre Swift.
How can you be out on him?
Because his vision's not good.
I think he could be one of the as a workhorse running back. His time is probably past.
No,
but he could be
a good.
So you have DeAndre Swift.
He could be one of the better.
David Montgomery.
He could be one of the better receiving backs in the league for sure.
That's a firm tandem.
Montgomery will be probably the every down back in between the tackles, and
they'll probably
ask
first and second down guy.
Swift will probably be the pass catcher, probably third down back. Yeah. It depends on how he does in pass pro.
It's crazy too because David Montgomery is also a really good receiving back himself. I'll say this: with that offensive line, the wide receivers have all the time in the world to get open. And Amon-Ra, you said it. You respected Amon-Ra. You definitely trust him to get open. He's one of the better route runners. That's just what he does. He gets open. He knows how to read his zone.
If you were the Lions, would you take a wide receiver with the second first-round pick?
I mean, if JSN's available, why not?
Not JSN, but I'm talking about like a Jordan Addison, a Quinn Johnson, a Zay Flowers. I probably would want to add one more receiver.
Maybe I lean a corner in that selection too, depending on what I do at 5.
Maybe wait till day 2. There's a lot of guys in that group that you would probably
like. Because if I were the Lions, I want to get a tight end because they don't have a tight end. I
disagree with that.
So I'd want to probably draft a receiver and then tight end second round.
Defense still needs some work. They signed a bunch of guys, but they could always use bodies
at
there.
At 5, it's essential excuse me, at 6. I keep saying 5. At 6, it's imperative you bring in a defensive player because the offense is not the issue. They're one of the best offenses this past season.
I like the Jalen Carter. I like the shot.
Jalen Carter
got a motivator like Dan
6,
Campbell.
That's a fact. Get him in the right direction. Get him in the right headspace. It'll definitely be a project that the Lions are going to have to commit to. And, of course, Carter himself, he's going to have to commit to the squad as well. Yeah. But if I'm the Lions, you take best available. You have to. You understand that, hey, we're actually building something great here. We haven't built something great in quite some time. We have a great situation right here. We have a very good head coach. We have a unbelievable offensive line. We have some really solid weapons around us. It's just a matter of bolstering this defense, and we really could get things going. Listen, it's not insane. After draft day, I'm going to really, depending on what happens and the right guys get drafted to the Detroit Lions, this team can win multiple playoff games. I do firmly believe that. I think that if Carter does come to the Lions, if Gonzalez gets drafted by the Lions as well, seeing some additional moves that happen to the defense, this definitely could be a team that can win multiple.
It would be matchup dependent because if they have to play one of the big 3 in the NFC, I don't know how confident.
Are they better than the Seahawks?
Same tier.
I think I would take the Lions. Not disrespecting the Seahawks because I understand that I've done that in the past.
Yeah.
Prez coming back, he's going to be huge for that defense, no doubt.
They could take Jalen Carter.
They could.
We talked about quarterback on last episode too.
At 5, like I just said for the Lions, I could keep that same energy for the Seahawks. They're not going to – I don't know if a quarterback's going to be available for them. It could be similar to last season or 2 seasons ago where it's 1, 2, 3 all quarterbacks.